Hi, I'm Jo and this is Mellow Belly Yoga. Welcome to my second class in my Yoga for My Mum series. And in today's class, we're going to be taking it easy and focusing on using the breath as our metronome. If you have 2 blocks handy, I'd encourage you to grab them. You could use books or anything else that you might be able to use as a block. And then I will see you on your mats. Okay, we are starting today's practice on our backs. So if you're not on the floor already, find your way down. Coming onto our backs, knees are bent, and shimmy your feet out to the sides of your mat, about mat width apart, and just let your knees fall in towards the center. Now this is a shape we're going to come back to again and again, and it's called constructive relaxation. So hands down either side, and just start relaxing, letting yourself arrive here on your mat for this practice together. We're going to run through a little body scan to really bring us into awareness, into this present moment, feeling into the crown of the head, to the scalp, the ears and forehead, brushing your attention down over the eyes, cheeks, mouth and jaw, down through the throat and the neck, into the shoulders, feeling into all the places where your back makes contact with the mat. Maybe you even feel yourself growing a little bit heavier, allowing a little bit more of your weight to sink down into the mat beneath you. Drawing your attention down the arms and checking in. Are they feeling heavy or light? What sensations can you feel in the fingertips? And bringing your awareness to your chest and your belly. And again, just trying to notice what is there. We're not judging it. It's not good or bad. Just noticing and observing what's going on as we draw our attention further down through the pelvis, the thighs, feeling where the knees make contact one against the other. The shins and calves, the ankles, and the feet. Just realizing that you've chosen to take this time for this practice. There's nothing else you need to be doing right now. Nowhere else you need to be. And bringing your attention now to the breath. And we're gently going to try to even out the inhale and the exhale. It doesn't have to be too rigid. Just bringing that balance to the inhale and the exhale. Now, keeping your rhythm going, sort of a little less focused attention on the rhythm and just sort of settling into that even rhythm. I want to introduce a breathing technique called Ujjayi breath. Sometimes it's called the ocean breath, sometimes the victorious breath. And I want you to imagine, you can even bring up a hand to your mouth to do this, but imagine you're fogging up the glass on a mirror. You have to be able to do that, you have to restrict the soft palate at the back of your throat so that the air is coming out through a smaller sort of hole. What we're going to do is the same thing, but with the mouth closed. So restricting that soft palate, and by doing so, we're going to elongate the inhale and elongate the exhale. So some people, it gets a lot of jokes made about it because it can sometimes make you sound like Darth Vader, but you definitely don't need to be doing it that loud. So it's very soft. It's like a little whisper, a little ocean whisper. No need to do anything too crazy. Just practice that. Again, if you're struggling to visualize it, imagine fogging up the mirror. And then try and do that mouth closed, in through the nose, out through the nose. Ujjayi breath. You might start hearing that little whisper. And as the in-breath and the out-breath get a little bit longer, a little bit slower, I want you to keep in mind that even inhale and even exhale as we practice this Ujjayi breath. The thing with Ujjayi breath is because it's slowing down your breathing, it can be very, very relaxing. And so hopefully as you're sinking into this sort of relaxed, slow, even rhythm, I want you to keep in mind that today is all about, digging deeper into that connection between breath and movement. And I want you to think of your breath as the metronome for your movement today. So staying connected to that even breath, staying connected to your Ujjayi breath. We're going to shuffle the feet in again off the edges of our mat. So now knees are sort of pointing more like straight up. And we're going to slowly introduce a little bit of gentle movement in with this sort of meditative Ujjayi breath. So it's very calm, very slow. Again, set the rhythm of your movements to the rhythm of your breath. So on your next inhale, you're going to do two things at the same time. You're going to slowly start raising the arms up above the head. At the same time, you're going to lift that right foot up off the floor. And as it's all coming up, so arms come to rest overhead. I got my little blocks in the way, so make sure you've got room. Now, those arms can be straight up, or maybe if your shoulders are not feeling it, you can have them in a kind of more of a cactus arms shape. And your leg comes up, flex those toes in towards the, toes up towards the knee. Heel pointing up at the ceiling. Now, straight leg might not feel so accessible to you today or ever. And so, feel free to have your knee as bent as possible. But, you are as bent as you need it to be, but you're sort of aiming for a straight leg, that the intention is there for the straight leg. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring foot and hands all the way back to our starting position. And then on the next inhale, we're going to alternate arms up, left foot up. And exhaling, releasing it all back down to the floor, trying to slow down the movement to match that beautiful extended Ujjayi breath that you've been working on. See if you can start to let yourself get lost in this sort of movement meditation. Let's do one more on each side. That thin thread of air feeding in through the throat and coming out as a soft whispering sigh. One more. Coming into stillness just for a little moment, staying connected to breath, staying connected to that even rhythm. Just noticing what changes you might be feeling in the body now that we've started to move. Personally, I can feel a kind of a tingling sort of energy through my arms and my legs. Preparing now for Setu Bandhasana, our bridge pose. Arms are palms down along the side of the body. Find the right placement for your heels, however close or far away you need them to be from your sit bones. And we're going to, on the next inhale, press down through the heels, lift up through the pelvis. You don't have to press as high up as you can, or you can experiment with that sort of extension in the spine. Feel the in-breath inflate the belly, and when you're ready, exhaling. Curling the spine down, one vertebra at a time. Moving like this with the inhale and the exhale. If that picture of the beach ball pinched between the knees is helpful for you here to get some sort of strength in the glutes to help press you up, then imagine holding on to that beach ball. Now this time inhaling, and we're going to stay here for 2 more breaths. Keeping it nice and drawn out. If you're anything like me, you might be feeling those glutes starting to burn a little. Stay with it. Just notice the sensation. and release slowly down on the exhale. Once again, take a moment here in between transitions to check in with the body, check in with the breath. It can be very easy to lose track of the breath or be distracted by things, and that's fine. Just coming back to it, bringing our attention back. Staying with Ujjayi breath if it's serving you, if you feel like that meditative, slow, drawn-out breath is serving you, but feel free to let it go if it's making you feel out of breath. In which case, just focusing on that nice, even inhale and exhale. Now, either one at a time or together, we're going to lift right knee to chest, left knee to chest. Bring your hands to settle on the tops of the knees. Again, they're really just here as a sort of a guide. They're not pushing or pulling. And we're going to keep that sort of even metronome of the breath as we move through wind relieving pose. So inhaling as the knees draw away from the chest, arms extend as the hands sort of get carried away. Thinking about that lower back being sort of connected to the floor as, we're asked to call on our, core to control this. And as we exhale, just simply drawing both knees back in towards the chest. And moving back and forth like this with the breath evenly, like a metronome. Feeling the massage of the thighs on the lower belly. And allowing yourself to sink a little deeper into this moving meditation. Two more. And maybe here, as you draw your knees in for the last time, sighing it all out. Lowering your feet to the floor. And moving now into a little bit more movement. I'm going to roll over onto whichever side you want. As you press up to a seated position, take a little moment to get accustomed to being upright. Again, if you have any low blood pressure issues, bringing your palms in towards each other, giving them a little squeeze as you look down, can just help get rid of any kind of dizziness you might be feeling. And now moving into just a little bit more movement and flow. Now we're going to come into a kneeling stance. So if your knees are at all sensitive, don't hesitate to get a little blanket or a towel to fold up and lay under your knees. If you've got a nice squishy mat, you can curl the corners of the mat over to create a little bit of extra padding for yourself. Otherwise, join me here, up on the knees, And you can feel that this is kind of asking us to really open up the hip flexors here. My toes are curled under behind me just for a little bit of balance. If that's not working for you, you can have them uncurled, pressing down into the tops of the feet. Whatever works for you. It might open up something a little different in your tailbone there for you. And we're just going to move through a little baby flow of a few things. So this is going to ask for a little bit of coordination and balance. Again, if balance is something that makes you nervous, you can always use the wall to support you, or an object like a sturdy couch or a chair beside you. But if you want the balance challenge, we're going to shift our weight into our left knee, bring that right foot forward, and we're 90-90 in both knees. Inhaling, draw the arms up over the head. Again, so breathe freely when you're here, when you get here. Again, you can have your arms all the way up. You can have them in a cactus shape, depending on what's feeling good in your body today. And maybe if you're really looking for a little extra stretch in the hip and a little extension in the spine, you can look up towards the ceiling, maybe reach back a little bit. This is our low lunge. Exhaling, windmill the hands down to the floor. Now this is where you might like to have your blocks with you. So you can have them on whatever setting you want, just to bring the floor up a little bit closer to you if that's feeling like a bit of a tight squeeze or a bit of a stretch. So that would be on higher setting, giving you the most room. Otherwise, you're welcome to put them aside and just have your fingertips or your palms resting here. And from here, we're just gonna draw that foot up and back, coming into a tabletop. Place palms down on the floor if they weren't there already. And flowing through a few cat and cows. So as you lower the belly, lift the hips up. Gaze comes to the front or all the way up. Exhaling, press down through the palms and the tops of the feet as you curl your nose to navel, navel to nose. Inhale. If you want, you can hook the toes and flow like this with the breath again as our metronome. Maybe one more. I think this is roughly my fifth, but there's no magic number. Now lowering, so bring toes to touch and lower back onto your, bringing sit bones towards your heels. If this isn't so comfortable, you can find sort of a resting place halfway between. And spider crawl those fingers out in front of you. We're in an extended child's pose. And then I want you to slowly spinal roll back up to your kneeling position. So that might look like coming towards the back a little bit before starting to press up and uncurl, unfurling the spine until we're back at our starting place. A kind of a kneeling Tadasana, kneeling mountain pose, feeling strong. Same thing. Now if you need a little bit of balance, reach for the wall or a sturdy piece of furniture as we tip our weight into the right, bringing left foot forward. Low lunge, bringing arms up. Stopping wherever you need to stop or going as far as you need to go. And on the exhale, windmill the hands down, either side of the feet, maybe on blocks, maybe not. Picking that foot up and tucking it all the way back, lowering onto your palms all the way, tabletop position, flowing in and out of some cat-cow. Pulling your chest through those arms for the cow. Exhaling, pressing down through the palms, curling into the upper back for cat. Trying to get lost in the movement. Fully enveloped. Wrapping up your last cat-cow. Reaching your hip sit bones back towards your heels, hands out towards the front for a little moment in extended child's pose, Utthita Balasana, before we do a little spinal roll up towards our kneeling stance. And again, with the help of something or as a balance challenge, coming up to your feet. And here we are in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. And just take a moment to check in with the body here. Maybe run through a quick little body scan as you just gently, lightly brush your awareness over the body from top to bottom. I'm going to move through a little flow I'm going to call Walking Warrior 1. So coming all the way to the back of your mat. I'll walk you slowly through this one and we'll maybe flow through it eventually. Starting in Tadasana, firm, your feet sort of firm down into the ground, feeling that grounded energy coming up through the body. Spine nice and erect. Inhaling, you're going to come up to Urdhva Hastasana, raised arms. Exhale, palms come to center as we lower down to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Release arms and hands and head down to the floor here. Staying for a few breaths in our first standing forward fold. Sighing it out. Maybe drawing the belly in and up to see if you can get a little closer to your thighs. Your knees can be bent here, bent a lot or a little. Maybe you can experiment with straightening it out, that sort of dynamic stretch of the hamstrings. And we're going to do a spinal roll. So bending deep into the knees now, pressing down through to the feet, curling up through the spine. Shoulders up, back and down. And now we're just going to take a small step forward with our right foot. Bending into that right knee, checking that our back foot is sort of out at a little angle, and bending into our warrior one. So knee roughly over the heel, but there's no sort of strict rules here. But hips pointing towards the front of the room. So there'll be that sort of temptation to open up to the side. So drawing right hip back, left hip forward as the arms come up. Anywhere here in your strong sort of open-chested cactus, or arms all the way up, maybe even into a little back bend there. Wherever you feel like being here. Feeling the strength of this pose, feeling the grounded connection through that back heel. And just bringing your hands to heart center into Anjali Mudra or prayer pose as we take an ever so gentle step up into Ekapada Tadasana, one-legged mountain. Here, wall or furniture is welcome to support you here. Drawing that knee as far up towards the chest as you can. And releasing on an exhale. So that was our first step forward in our walking warrior one. Releasing hands either side, Tadasana. Inhale, arms come up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhaling down to forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhaling here, maybe straightening the legs a little bit. And on an exhale, bending deep into the knees, your spine will roll all the way up. Inhaling, shoulders up, back and down. Exhale. Inhale, step forward. Arms come up. Left knee bends, hips squared to the front. Find yourself in your warrior one. Breathe here, drawing left hip back, right hip forward to help you square off. Feeling strong, feeling firm in the legs. And when you're ready, exhale, palms to heart center as you step that back foot forward. Inhale. And exhale, lower that foot down to the ground. There we go, 2 steps in our walking warrior one. Now if you have the room, you can keep going in this direction, or if you don't, you can turn around. I'm going to go 2 more in the other way. Now I'm just going to cue this to try and get some movement and rhythm here. Just flowing through this together. So coming to start in our Tadasana. Just take a deep breath in together and a deep breath out together. Breathing it all out. Inhale, arms up, Urdhva. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, straighten the legs. Exhale, bend deep. Inhale as you roll up. Shrugging shoulders up, back and down. Inhale, step forward. Blending at the knees, arms come up. Exhale, hands to heart center as we step forward into Ekapada Tadasana, one-legged mountain. If you wobble, if you lose your balance, that's fine. Just find it again. And release on the exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale here. Exhale, bending deeper at the knees. Inhale as you roll up. Exhale, shoulders up, back and down. Inhale, step left foot forward. Bend at the knees, arms come up. Exhale, palms to heart center, stepping right foot forward. Ekapada Tadasana. And exhale on the release. Take a moment in your Tadasana to feel into the body. Maybe you have a little bit of heat flowing, a little bit of energy flowing. As this metronome of the breath has sped up a little bit, bringing a little bit more of a dynamic flow. And in your own time and your own way, let's find ourselves back down on our mats, on our bums. Knees bent, feet flat. And I just want us to play around in a little bit of a balancing shape before we really start to cool down for the end of our practice. So I want us to experiment with Navasana, or boat pose. So you can, if you want, you can have your hands behind you, almost like a kind of a pool chair. And that can give you some support here. Otherwise, you can hold on to the knees gently. That requires just a little bit more effort to keep that spine upright. And we're just going to play around here. This is kind of playtime. And so what I want you to do is to come up onto your left toes, then your right toes, and you can feel that that sort of tips your body a little bit backwards. You can just play around with that to begin with, coming up and down off the toes. And I can already feel that that's working me a little bit here. And from here, you know, maybe hold on to your knees is where you want to be. Maybe it feels a little bit better just right behind the knees. And I want you to experiment with just letting the weight of your body tip you back and tip you forward. So see if you can do that with some sort of gentle control of yourself. So you don't, if you do fall all the way back, that's fine. Finding your way back to the front, but seeing if you can control that tipping point so that you can find a place of balance. And you can always bring your feet back down if you're feeling nervous. And from here, you know, this can be your boat pose. You can start here. So we've got a kind of a V shape in our body from our thighs to our torso. You can experiment with bringing your shins parallel to the floor and see how that feels. You can always come in and out of this. This is, like I said, this is playtime, this is experimenting. When do we get to experiment and just muck about? Sometimes, not very often when you become an adult. And you'll notice, so the temptation here is sort of round through the back. To sort of like, whoa, control it. But see if you can really draw up through that sort of imaginary sort of line through the spine to keep us here in a bit more of a sort of a controlled shape. And then if you really want to play around, you can try arms parallel, shins parallel. Whew. You might need to release it a little bit, just... And then, I'm not all that good at this, but if you really want to test yourself, you can go from parallel all the way to legs stretched out. I definitely need my hands behind my knees to stay here, but some people can let go, and that's really working hard on this kind of like hip flexor to keep you all nice and pinched in your little V. And just feeling these different muscles firing, feeling these different shapes coming as we can use these sort of, I heard somebody say this, I really loved it, you know, these complex poses or these poses that have your mind focused on lots of different things all at the same time, just as like a little attention trap. It's a place for you to bring your focus, bring yourself into presence. So it's not about getting it perfect or looking perfect. It's just about playing around with this, all these sort of little points of focus to keep our attention in the here and now. Stretch that out whatever way you want to move as we allow ourselves to relax and release into the very end of our practice. So we started today in constructive relaxation. I want you to find your way back. Now, honestly, you can get down onto your back in whatever way you want. But if you want to just, from that Navasana boat pose practice, knees bent, feet flat, arms parallel to the floor, let's see if we can just gently curl the spine down one vertebra at a time until we are back down here. So just really trying to bring that kind of control and awareness to everything we're doing on our mats. So remember, constructive relaxation. Our feet were about mat width apart, knees in, arms either side of the body in quite a wide V so they're out of your way. If you're next to the wall, give yourself a little bit of room, shimmy away. And we're going to do a little spinal twist, a sort of like hip opener thing that I call windscreen wipers. So you're just going to let your knees fall out towards the right. They don't need to reach or touch the floor. They can just sort of hang there. And coming back through center all the way to the left. Now, if you want a little bit of moving meditation, You can use your breath here as your metronome. Inhaling to center, exhaling as you let the knees fall out the one way. And then the other. Or you could stay in this shape for a little while if that feels good. Just knees in one direction for a few breaths. This is the time where we allow ourselves to sort of unwind. Let all the goodness of the practice start to sink in. Maybe one more to the left. Or just whatever you need to sort of even out on both sides. And I'm going to suggest, and coming back to our Viparita Karani, our waterfall pose. So shimmying your bum up towards a wall can help to get as close as possible. And then just stretching your legs out. Now again, they can be bent here, whatever you need. Maybe bringing one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. Your eyes can be open or closed. Maybe go through a few sort of points and flicks of the feet. As you feel all of that sort of draining away out of the legs, down into the body. In our very, very gentle inversion. If you've been on your feet all day, just allowing that whole part of your body just to rest, get some relief. And you're welcome to stay here as your final shape, or to gently move into a Shavasana or corpse pose for a minute or so of stillness and silence after our practice. So if you're not sure how to set yourself up for comfortable Shavasana, just letting the feet, the legs come out to straight. You can sort of look up at your feet and sort of find yourself in the sort of center line as you let your spine unfurl, allowing the feet to fall out either side of the body. Picking up your shoulder blades and just drawing them in towards each other, shimmying around, wiggling this way and that way. Just finding a comfortable place for your pelvis and your shoulders and your neck. Seeing how it feels to just gently draw the chin in towards the throat. Maybe tilt the head back and find your sort of neutral spot. Your hands can either be one on the belly, one on the heart, one on the belly, or palms facing up, whatever feels right to you today. Settling down into your body, into your mat, held here by the floor beneath you, supported by your practice, supported by your connection to breath and movement. You're welcome to stay here or gently rise back up to the surface, gently moving your fingers and toes, brushing your thumbs across your fingertips, rolling onto your side. For a moment here, allowing your practice to soak in. As you find your way up to a seated shape. Bringing hands to heart center as we close off our practice for today. And bowing head to heart. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide your practice today.